Comic Book Savant, episode 460. Welcome back to the Comic Book Savant podcast. I'm your host, James Harris. This week's episode, we're going to be doing a movie talk episode that's going to focus on MCU Phase 5. Not too long ago, they put out a whole bunch of release dates for upcoming films that we have to look forward to in Phase 5. So we've already had pretty much everything announced from Phase 4 that we're going to have over the next 2 or so years. And then we're picking up at Phase 5 going on. And I'm going to do a little bit of speculation of what we might get in Phase 6. But before I get into all that, as always, I'd like to give a shout out to my friends over at the Comics Podcast Network. You can find them over at comicspodcast.com. It's a great site that you can go to find just more comic book related content. If you like this show and you want to find more podcasts similar to it, it's a one-stop resource that you can go find more comic book related content. So if you have a moment, definitely stop by the Comics Podcast Network. You can find them over at comicspodcast.com. Now, let's get back to the meat of the episode, which is the MCU Phase 5 release dates. Now, the press release or announcements that were made, this was made, I think, right before the holidays-ish last year, before the new year came in. So I wanted to do this earlier, but again, I took a little hiatus for the holidays, so I wanted to touch on this a little bit earlier. So again, some of you might already be aware of it, but I thought it would be cool since I do so many, I don't do so many, I pretty much review every MCU movie once it comes out in the theaters. I always like to give you guys updated information on these type of things. So the first announcement we have is that Blade is going to release October 7th of 2022, which October is always a good time. Blade fits into that theme of, Halloween, that October theme. We've had Joker come out and do well in October. I'm trying to think. We've had a few movies now that have hit that, that if they're kind of gothic in nature or kind of, fit that vibe of Halloween that they've shown now, especially with Joker and with the Golden Globes just happening, and Joaquin Phoenix winning Best Actor Golden Globe and things like that. That's we're gonna see more films kind of trend towards that way, just like with the MCU when Black Panther came out in February and did blockbuster. Then they followed up with Captain Marvel coming out in February, so on and so forth. So it's just kind of par for the course. So here's kind of where we're going. And actually, these dates are dates. Some things have been announced, other ones haven't. It's kind of just me kind of speculating around what movies we'll get at what at any given time with them. Some of these things can be subject to change. We've had dates where movies have flipped around, so we know the dates for certain. This is me speculating. I just wanted to clarify that we don't have for sure, but I'm speculating with what movies we've had them announced that are coming with these dates. They kind of just thrown out to kind of what we might get in these time frames. So again, these are my best speculations. I'm thinking for October, Blade would be the movie that they would put in that October 7th of 2022. Again, just based on all the reasons that I just stated, it just makes sense that Blade would be that movie. And when Comic-Con was this past Comic-Con, they made a point to announce the fact that Mahershala Ali was going to take over the Blade franchise, and we already know that film is coming, and we know it's not a part of Phase 4. They already had said that, so we know that it's going to be something that more than less would come in October. It would make sense to hit that date. The next release date we have is February 17th, 2023. I would think at that point it would be more than likely Captain Marvel. That would be the slate for Captain Marvel. The original film released in February We do know between now and then, we probably will see the Captain Marvel character cross over in some of the other movies in Phase 4. Maybe even like the Spider-Man film that's coming up, and we do know it's going to be crossover with the Disney Plus series, Marvel series as well, and we know that Mrs. Marvel is coming to Disney Plus, and it would be only make sense because of their relationship in the comics that we might see Carol Danvers pop up in on that TV show to set her up. Miss Marvel making her way into the MCU, so I feel like we'll see her, so it won't feel such like a long wait between, when we last saw her briefly in Endgame to that point in time. So I would think that's the more likely release date for that film. I could be wrong, and it might shift because it made over $1 billion. They might shift it in that that coveted early May slot because it's their bigger tentpole film. I just tend to think that they would kind of keep it because it came out and did so well in that slate that they might keep it there, but it's subject to change. They could have slated another movie in this February slot, something that's a newer character, that's a little bit more experimental, since now that she's established and she has $1 billion film, it might be in May. But this is what I'm thinking for the May release date for 2023. For May 5th, 2023, my speculation is that it would be a new Avengers film, based upon all the Disney Plus Marvel series that we're going to have between now and then. We would have She-Hulk established, Ms. Marvel established. We don't necessarily know after this next Spider-Man movie where that whole deal with Sony about Spider-Man and how all that's going to kind of pan out. So, we don't know, like we might have Kate Bishop. We'll have Kate Bishop because the Hawkeye show will be out then. It's going to be a lot of characters out in the wild. Black Panther is going to be more established. Doctor Strange, because their movies are going to be back out. So we could have that next incarnation of the Avengers. And I can't see with it not being an Avengers movie on the slate for Phase 4. I think it's reestablishing the universe post Endgame and the blip and all that to reestablish the characters to come out strong with the new Avengers movie. And I think the title will be New Avengers. But that's what I'm anticipating to be that May 5th, because we'll have a new we'll have Shang-Chi out there. We'll have different characters with the Black Knight and the Eternals. It'll be a lot of characters out there. So it would be a great time to then pull those characters together. And people like the Black Knight, She-Hulk has ties to previous iterations of the Avengers teams in comics, so it would make sense to me that we would get some amalgamation of an Avengers team. And I just feel like at that point to differentiate or defer themselves from the previous team, the new Avengers title would just be perfect for that movie. The next release date would be 7/28/2023, and I would think for me, because it's been rumored for a while, I feel like we would finally get another cosmic movie since James Gunn is back in the fold. And it was before all the hubbub happened and he got fired, then rehired. It was pretty much discussed, talked about, and reported that he was really going to spearhead and be like Kevin Feige was really going to let him oversee. He wasn't going to direct every film, but he was going to be, since he established the cosmic side of the MCU with the Guardians, that he was going to kind of be the Kevin Feige over the cosmic section of the MCU. And I know Kevin Feige had mentioned on occasions and had hinted that's why they hadn't used Nova to this point. They used the Nova Corps, but they did not use Nova. That we're finally going to get that Nova movie that kind of been hinted around with this release. I don't think at this point James Gunn would direct that movie, but he would be overseeing it. I think it would be his first non-cosmic movie that he would actually be like in that supervisory executive producer role, kind of Kevin Feige role for that cosmic. And I think he's the best person to be overseer of that because he did do a great job establishing it through the Guardians movies. And with Guardians 3, after him coming off of doing Suicide Squad and then going right into Guardians 3. I think he's going to need a break, and doing something like overseeing this for overseeing production for the first few cosmic movies while he figures out what his next move will be would probably be a perfect role for him. So I can see that just slotting in perfectly in that July time frame for 2023. And again, this is all these movies are just speculation. The only one we know out of this list that I'm slating in these slots is Blade. We do know a Blade movie has been announced for Phase 5. That's all we know for certain right now. And we know how things line up. It should be a Captain Marvel sequel in the works coming up. So those are kind of a given. Where they fall into the slate for sure can change. But again, it's just me speculating based on the actual information that we know as of the time I'm sitting down and recording this. So when I go for that November 3rd of 2023, I'm thinking we are going to get some semblance of an X-Men film in that slot. It's kind of right before that Christmas time. And I think about the different films we've kind of gotten the November slot. When I think we go all the way back to Phase 1 of the MCU, like we got Thor in a November, we got a Doctor Strange, if I remember, in November. They normally like solo movies, but I think they'll switch it up in that slot and go with a team film. Or it's going to be X-Men related. Maybe it's a Deadpool movie. Maybe it's a Wolverine film. Maybe they'll launch with one character that then opens up to the bigger world of mutants in the MCU. But it's going to be some X-related film in that slot that I'm feeling at that point. Could be they start with Wolverine since he was the most popular character from the Fox films, but they might go in a whole nother direction. But I just feel in my heart of hearts, it won't be like Phase 7 or 8 before we get X-Men. I think we'll get that first. And even before Fantastic Four, because I think they realize how vital it is to get that X-Men franchise, because they're with the Hickman stuff. Is so huge in the comics right now, and I don't think that the interest in the X-Men are going to wane in the next couple of years based on any indication how things are going right now. So I feel like they're going to want to jumpstart that and get that back on track as quickly as possible to revitalize that franchise as far as on film. And I think, and this is just a speculation a little bit further into Phase 6, I think the center of the MCU plot lines in Phase 6 will be leading into the Fantastic Four. I could be wrong, and this could be reversed, where we might get Phase 5 would be centered around the Fantastic Four. It's going to be interesting to see based on some other information we have. So what we do also have in Phase 5 that have been officially announced with release dates. We have Ant-Man and the Wasp sequel. We don't know what the title of the film is going to be officially yet, but we do know we're going to get a third Ant-Man and Wasp movie that has a release date of February 18th of 2022. We also know that Black Panther 2 is going to be coming out May 6th of 2022. And then we also have Guardians of the Galaxy 3 that's going to be coming out July 29th of 2022. So we do know those films are on deck. These other dates, are, as far as what I know, these release dates that I just slated movies are all still considered phase 5 for what they were saying, that all fall under the Phase 5 release dates. And I don't see, like I said, unless I'm totally wrong and those things switch. Now we do have some precedent here when it comes to Ant-Man and the Wasp, that it could not be so far-fetched that I could be off. And in that November 3rd of 2023, we might actually get a Fantastic Four movie instead of an X-Men movie. Is that Peyton Reed pitched, even before he came on to do Ant-Man and then later Ant-Man and the Wasp, he had been pitching a Fantastic Four film. He actually I think he wrote a script and did a treatment for it when it was over at Fox that never kind of came to fruition. Now, since Marvel has all these things in house and they've already announced him for director of this, we could actually be getting that Fantastic Four movie. I just think this is another reason why I think it's going to be his movie to do. The fact that they brought him back on and they've been happy with his progression through the first two Ant-Man movies to keep him on board to do a third. I think he'll be the only director that would actually fully helm a trilogy on. I think so. Yeah, when we look at it, he'll be the only director that actually did all the movies for his particular character at this point. I feel like that says something. Oh, until James Gunn completes his Guardian of the Galaxy, they'll be the only two directors. They're super close friends, and he has a passion to do it. And I think I wouldn't mind seeing him do something different and maybe doing a Fantastic Four. And I heard at the time his treatment that he wrote up for a Fantastic Four movie was really good. So I think that with him staying on board, it's been rumors saying maybe that they'll tie, instead of them going to the negative zone, they might tap into something in the quantum verse. We did see things in the background in Ant-Man, and even more so in Ant-Man and the Wasp, where they had we saw a city there, and Janet did talk about civilizations and things there. So it could be that they link in the Fantastic Four tied in with something to the what's it called, quantum verse, because I feel like how they set that up, and when with the time travel also through to the quantum verse, it's going to be a big thing going forward in the MCU. So and Ant-Man at one point was a member of the Fantastic Four. So with Peyton Reed being interested, or helming one property and very interested, and has been for years to do the other, it would make sense that in that Ant-Man and the Wasp movie we would have some tie-in or setup or some seeds being sown that would lead us to the Fantastic Four. So it wouldn't be so far-fetched. Maybe that movie that would come out in November of 2023 might be a Fantastic Four movie that has been set up heavily the year before in the Ant-Man and the Wasp sequel, part 3 or whatever the actual title will be. So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out as we start getting more information. As far as I know, I think they're already in pre-production for Ant-Man and the Wasp, shooting sometime in 2020 that they announced, I think, or early 2021, something like that, to be ready for that release date for 2022. So we'll probably start finding out more as we start hearing casting and things of that nature coming down the pike. And it'll be really interesting to see how that will pan out. As far as the previous release dates that have been previously announced, we've had a trailer for it now. We have Black Widow coming out May 1st of 2020. We have the Falcon and Winter Soldier release date for fall of 2020. We do know that is current. They're already filming that. The Eternals, that release date is November 6th of this year. I can now say that because it is 2020 now. We have Loki release set for spring of 2021, with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings to release in February 12th of 2021. We just got a trailer for what's coming out on Disney Plus for the year of 2020, and we saw WandaVision there. So it's assumed now that they're moving up WandaVision, and it's not actually going to be spring of 2021. It's actually going to probably be like fall of 2020 that we might get WandaVision released, based on that trailer they showed for what was in store for this year on Disney Plus. Then we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness releases May 7th of 2021. Then we have the What If series, that's Disney Plus series that's going to be releasing summer of 2021. We have Hawkeye set right now for fall of 2021. Thor Love and Thunder to be released in November 5th of 2021. And then we have the Spider-Man is going to be July of 2021. I don't know the official date. I know it's July. I forgot to write down the actual date. I know they announced it, but I can't remember what it is. But it's going to be July 2021. And then we also have for other what else we have? Oh, and then we just got a new trailer for that. So New Mutants is still coming out, and that comes out April 3rd of 2020 of this year. So we do have that as well down the pike. So it's a lot of interesting things, and we just don't know at this point how certain things might shift on this map. It seems like with the success of especially with the success of the Mandalorian and how well it was received by critics, fans, and all. Feige is really on board, with his new responsibilities as the head of Marvel, entertainment as a whole. And he really seems serious about what he's going to do here on Disney Plus. And it's going to be interesting to see in this next phase coming out of this next set of movies. I have to admit, I'm stoked to see Black Widow. I'm interested to see what the Disney Plus shows the Disney Plus Marvel shows are going to look like. I enjoyed all the Netflix ones for the most part. I have to say this about The Mandalorian. Was it everything I expected it to be? No, it met expectations in in some ways, in other ways. Not saying that it was disappointing, but it was definitely different from what I thought in other areas. I'm going to talk about my thoughts about The Mandalorian at another time in more detail. I'm prepping an episode for reviewing the first season of that, so that'll be coming up soon, so I can drill down. But as far as the quality, the production, and all that, so it's going to be really interesting to see once the first Marvel Disney Plus show hits, how well that will be received, coming off the heels of The Mandalorian at their first original kind of extension property of Disney's, to see how it looks and feels on the small screen on streaming. But I'm excited to see what that will hold, especially with all the different shows they have down the pike with like Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Mrs. Marvel, all that kind of stuff. I'm really stoked to see how it all plays out, and it's interesting to see what these release dates, as more stuff is revealed, as we get more movies, it'll start being fleshed out, and these dates that I'm speculating on will become more in the focus, and we can see if I was right or wrong. But I will say this: I will leave that November 3rd as a swing. I think it could either be an X-Men movie or a Fantastic Four movie, but one of those properties will be at the tail end of Phase 5, being a major part of what's going to be going into Phase 6. But we still have we still have 3 years to even get to this point, so we have plenty of more time, and I have more time to talk about these things at a later date. But I just wanted to give you those dates, give you some of my thoughts based on the information that was made available at this point, to speculate. You guys really seem to enjoy these kind of episodes, so I wanted, when they made these new announcements, I wanted to definitely update this kind of theme I've been going on with this, and I've been kind of right. I've been fairly even in my predictions and speculations on kind of where certain things were going to land, and connecting all the dots. So we'll see how it pans out. We'll revisit this in a few months after more announcements comes out and things will be made more clear. I will correct whatever mistakes I made and even further speculate. It's always a fun thing to do within reason. So that's all I really have for you guys for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, if you haven't already, check out the Facebook group. It is facebook.com/groups /the Savant Society. Come join the community there. We're 44 members strong at this point and constantly growing, and we just talk comics, get to know each other, and just have a ball there. So definitely check that out if you have a chance. If you are thinking about supporting the show and you like the content that I create, definitely take a moment to stop by my Patreon. It's patreon.com/comic book savant. For a little as $1 a month of supporting the show, you can get access to the Patreon only podcast feed. I do a whole separate podcast feed on the Patreon campaign. So if you like hearing the velvet tones of my voice, you get a whole extra episode every week. there, and that support goes a long way. And I'm really going to need your guys' support in 2020 with the expansions that I want to do with the show and the way I want to innovate. I definitely are going to need your guys' support more than ever this year with that. Also, if you want to give feedback, you can give that at comicbooksavant@gmail.com, or you can message me directly through the website at comicbooksavant.com. But that's all I have for you guys for this episode. Until next time, you guys stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.